Ryan finishes a sip of his drink. Adam sends away another wayward text, and Sanjay is not absent. He's not present either. We don't know what he's doing. He's supposed to be here in 5 minutes, so we're going to start without him. Welcome to Delayed Offside. I'm your host, Baron. With me
Adam.
Always is Human Muppet Adam and Michael Bunting, anti-Zach Hyman, Ryan Pilon, a man who literally hates Hyman so much that he has justified his love of Bunting by getting Bunting's face tattooed on his stomach. By the way, have you guys seen the Josh Norris story where the guy sent him a thing and he was like, if I get your face tattooed on my chest, will you get
life size face?
Yeah.
Life size.
Like, couple points here. One, the tattoo looks horrible. And two, the guy with the tattoo looks creepy. Like if he approached me shirtless at a parking lot, I'm like, I'm getting stabbed. I think it's just a fair bet that he would stab the crap out of me. But he's got a jersey now. What is the dumbest thing you would do to get a hockey jersey signed by a player you love? Let's go with Adam, because I think you have some creative ideas here.
Let's just think about this. Like, honest, Josh Norris has been in the NHL for 2 seasons.
He's got that
2 seasons. What the hell? This isn't Sidney Crosby. It's not Wayne Gretzky. It's not Alexander Ovechkin. You're getting Josh Norris on your belly. That's insane.
Yeah. Under your weird cross and Grinch tattoo.
You're a mean one, Josh Norris.
It's just something else. It is.
Yeah.
But what is the thing
face
you would
grew 3 times the size? What is it in the Grinch? On that day, his heart
3 sizes. Yeah, it grows 3 sizes.
Josh Norris's face grew 3 sizes as well. And you know what? What happens to Josh Norris?
Didn't he actually just get injured right
after? No. Well, listen to me. What happens to Josh Norris if he doesn't sign the jersey? That guy's hunting him down.
Yeah, that's probably true. Actually, that is as stalkery of a stalker moment as possible.
I bet you that guy's in the convoy.
Potentially. Never know. You never know. What would you do, Ryan? Oh, you're going to get to it finally. Oh, good. I was going to jump to the other guy since we were just talking on this. But go ahead.
I don't know. I guess, like, to a point, like, a tattoo's permanent. It's something you have to think about for like a year before you get. At least that's like my rule. Man, what would I do? I'd maybe take like a clean slap across the face from the player or something. I don't know. Like, really, I would ask, and that's about the extent I'm willing to go to. And if they said no, I'd be like, man, this is your profession. Grab the pen. It's going to take a second. Like,
you forget that they're not actually paid to sign autographs. They get paid to do that separately, but then you have to pay a lot of money.
I know, but it's community. It's community.
You're not a kid. You're like a 40-year-old man.
Well, and that's why I don't ask for the autograph unless it's like with someone that's like in an organization. It's like, hey, can you get like this jersey signed for me? And I've done that, but it's because I knew someone within the organization of the Pats when, like, Sam.
Since he's giving you an hour here to figure out your answer, Ryan, what would you think? What would you do for this assigned jersey, and which player would you go for?
I can't think of like anything crazy. So I'll say one thing I have done was when I was in Toronto for a Raptors game. LeBron James was in town, and so I bought myself a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey, and because my brother's a big LeBron fan. And I tried to stake out. So I looked up like some of the hotels the NBA teams stay at, and I tried staking out the hotels like for the hours leading up to the game.
Oh my God.
So I did that. There's something I did for a jersey. Unfortunately, I must have picked the wrong hotel because I never did see LeBron James walk on out. But
just staying at they're not at the Holiday Inn Express here on the outskirts of Toronto.
I can't remember which hotel it was, but I looked it up, and there was like a couple hotels that NBA teams frequented. Yeah. So I just picked one.
Going door to door. LeBron. Yo, LeBron.
So there you go. There's something dumb I've done for a signing of a jersey. Didn't really work out.
For Derek.
For my brother. Yeah, because that's what kind of brother I am.
Whose autograph do you want, Derek?
Yeah. Hey, LeBron was there, but I didn't get his autograph. I asked some of the other players, and they were fine with it. So I think it's cool either way. It's like a friend of ours has a one of the Sedin brothers signed his jersey, but it's the wrong brother for the jersey.
He probably had no idea either.
So he's like Henrik signed a Daniels, or Daniels signed a Henrik jersey, but that's what he's got. And he's just like, because his options were like that or get no signature at all. So he's just like, okay, thanks. But it's kind of funny. I just feel bad for them. Something I would do for a jersey, I wouldn't stoop too low, but I remember like at a bachelor party, a friend of ours, his punishment for the bachelor party was to stand in the net with like a blocker and a goalie mask and a glove, and then everyone just drills slap shots at him. And if I really wanted one, that would be something I think I would consider putting myself. Because I remember when Dan from Jay and Dan got I think it was Andy Roddick to hit him with a serve on TV, and he just dropped him. And I was like, I guess that would probably be worth it. But who I would want at this stage, I don't know. I don't think Gretzky would do that to me. So we'll find out. And with Sanjay not being here yet, we won't know what he wants, but we know that what he'd do for it would be something horrific. And with that, let's start the pod.
I was going to say maybe he would actually show up to our podcast consistently over a period of time. Let's see if he would do that for a signature.
You ask too much, sir. You ask too much. Speaking of showing up, it's become to attention here in the last little while that the Arizona Coyotes are going to play in an arena where it's not going to require a lot of people to show up for them to look like they're sold out. Being unable to kind of complete their lease on their current stay at Gills Arena, was it Gills Rivera Arena? They're moving to a new location, which is essentially the university location, and in Tempe, and it's less than 5,000 seats. It needs to be fixed so that it can get up to that many seats. And it's kind of one of those things where everyone's not surprised anymore. They really aren't. But the fact that they're going to play there for 3 to 5 years in an arena for 5,000 people,
there's going to be no revenue.
That's smaller. Like that's like the Pats, right? Like that's the kind of arena we're talking about here. Something that small. They're playing in like an OHL, WHL sized arena.
Can you imagine if they don't sell out?
Well, they won't. They 100% won't, because like,
well, don't they usually get like, I don't know, 11,000 at least showing up to their games on average?
Right. But those seats,
now they're moving to a different area.
Now they might open up more opportunities for people, because like, let's be honest, Arizona does not have public transit very well, but at the same time, like it's going to be really tightly packed in there. You're not going to have the same amenities. One of the things that always bugged me was how much I always heard like it's a terrible place for the hockey and blah, blah, blah. There's not a good atmosphere. And I found that to be opposite of true. And I think you did as well, Ryan. There's a lot going on around those games and on game day, like lots of people, lots of stuff to do. There's stores, shops, etc. That it really, the narrative around the Coyotes wasn't exactly great, but it was
a drive though.
Yes.
Like, you know, we had to take a bit of a trip to get there. I think that was kind of the biggest complaint, was just
$50
how far
cab
away it is
ride
from Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm. But they still had a good atmosphere and a good setup there.
Oh, absolutely. I had a blast. I thought it was a great time. Other than the AC
like who just
that
walks off
blasted. I was just freezing the whole game.
Did you see this? Like, he doesn't value your opinion. He literally walks out of the room.
He's hurt because he never made it to the bachelor party in Arizona, and he's
he can't listen to the talk. Right?
Yeah, he's off to cry.
Last thing. What's the last thing you did before COVID stopped everything? It was actually that.
Yeah, it was.
But they had like kind of a good set, and you're right. It was like ridiculously cold.
Yeah,
like freezing cold.
But
I found the game atmosphere was fun. People were in it. People were drinking. There's food you could get. There was great deals on stuff, like better deals than I've ever seen in Canada on any sporting event.
Yeah, I had all you can eat food for a game. That was awesome.
Yeah, like what did you eat? Like 4 nachos, 5
hot dogs and popcorn.
Did you get all of it?
Oh yeah. And I think I went back like 3 times. I was like, shit. Like, yeah, this is my dinner. I didn't eat anything leading up to it. You guys are all eating dinner at like wherever restaurants. Yeah. Like, I'm not eating anything. I got
like I have food at the game. The biggest regret I have is that we had to watch the Islanders. They were so boring. But what do you think? Like what look is this for the NHL? What kind of look is this for the Coyotes organization? And do you think this is an actual truthful thing, or is this more of a kind of I don't know what the word I'm
They're
looking
trying
for
to
is.
play their hand to try
Sustainable?
to force the hand or something like that.
Yeah, like being like, we'll do this. We don't care. Like, we'll do this to you guys. Like, is
I
that
don't
like
know.
what do you guys think it is?
I think it's legit. I have a feeling it's legit. In some ways, I kind of get what they're maybe trying to do, because their goal is to build an arena in Tempe. So why not play games out of there ahead of that and try to establish a fan base? Oh, look who's here.
You know, I think it's wonky. I think it's just wonky. What are you sinking money into that franchise for? I honestly, more money into an arena for a franchise that is not generating revenue for the league in any capacity. Why? It baffles my mind, all because that's Gary Bettman's golden girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is interesting because this point came up today from Sanjay's brother in a phone conversation I had with him. Now, he read the Brian Burke book. Nothing, Sanjay. Can't hear you at all. But he read the Brian Burke book, and he talks about how the way that arena is constructed. Too. Okay, so do you remember what it says about the arena construction in Anaheim?
No, not
so. The arena construction in Anaheim, they don't make enough money off the lower seats because of how it's been built for basketball, and because they don't make enough money on that, they actually lose revenue and have to make it up with concerts. So even when they won the Stanley Cup, they were actually losing money. So there's an organization which I don't think we think of as traditionally crappy. This is going to be the best edit of Sanjay just looking confused while we talk. But like, we don't think of them as crappy or as a bad organization, but they're losing money all the time too there, Adam. And so it's not just a Arizona thing.
Arizona thing. It's probably a Florida thing. It's probably a Tampa thing. It's probably a Dallas thing. You know, honestly, there's a lot when those teams don't do good. What do their stands look like?
But I think that's true for all sports. Like, you can't tell me the Carolina Panthers are packed all the time. You can't tell me in the NBA that, like, prior to the Clippers having starting to build a team, that they had anyone in their stands, other than the fact that it was cheap. The Mets versus the Yankees. Like, I mean, there's lots of teams I think that suffer from this. Look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is like a World Series team, and they're going to play games in Montreal because they can't sell out enough games in Tampa Bay. Like, it's not just an Arizona thing. I think it's a sports issue.
But Arizona's just...
Well, it's bad management in Arizona too. I think that's the other issue. Like, they don't pay their bills, and they don't, you know, it's
like when Homer falls off the cliff, right? He
bounce
hits
after
every
bounce
rock on the way down. That's Arizona. And for some reason, he's still alive. And you know what? Bettman's got the helicopter. They're pulling him up on the stretcher, and he keeps hitting the side of the cliff on the way up too. Like, it's just, it's as Ryan Pilon would put it, a joke.
We can hear you, Sanjay, now, just so you know.
Yep,
and
that's good.
And we'll take this moment to point out that you should like, click, and subscribe to the Delayed Offside podcast. But what are your thoughts on the new Arizona arena, Sanjay? Is it is it everything you wanted in arena? Would you be excited as a hockey player? What's your friend say about it?
I haven't asked him. I haven't asked Beagle about it. But just imagine being in like a junior player. You finally make the show, and your first game is in Arizona, and then you go and play in that arena. Like, I understand temporary circumstances may call for it. Like the Flames first played in the Calgary Corral, which seats, I think, 6,000 their first year in, while they were building the Saddle Dome. So like, if it was a temporary thing, like, okay, we need this like temporary location for 1 year, I would be like, fine. You know what? Like the New Orleans Saints had to play in Oklahoma City after Hurricane Katrina, but it was just like a temporary thing.
Obviously, because it was a disastrous hurricane. Oh my God, he's frozen.
He's just upset with you because you made a joke about something where people died.
I know. But like, that's it. Like, right?
Of Sanjay's camera.
Sanjay, are you okay?
Sanjay's camera makes it.
I'm having internet issues today, so
Sanjay's camera is like
funny.
Watching a 1990s music video.
Yeah,
he's like,
it's like a wide eye, like fish eye or whatever.
It's
wiggity whack.
Yeah, fantastic.
Limp Bizkit. Yeah, exactly.
So good.
What are the odds? Sorry, go ahead, Sanjay.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So I didn't hear anything that you said, Adam. So sorry, I can't comment on anything. My computer was frozen.
Okay, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, are the odds here? Do you think Arizona will ever move anywhere else, or do you think they're just going to stay Arizona Phoenix Coyotes for like at least the next decade?
Oh, until
Bettman's
out,
gone,
they're staying.
I'm gonna say they're gonna move. And not necessarily to Quebec City, which everyone hopes, and I hope as well. But like you got Houston, which is a huge market. They would like a team, Kansas City. They have a new arena. They were scouting the Penguins back in the day. It just makes sense for them to move. And then you know what? Maybe if you want to go back in that market in 20 years or something, you can try it. Like Colorado, right? They had the Colorado Rockies for many years and they never did well, and they moved to New Jersey. And then Colorado Avalanche came in, a new iteration, new team, and they
Mickey Mouse organization.
and the Avalanche have been a tremendous team since they've moved from Quebec. So you know what, that would be my suggestion, because I just think the brand right now is kind of stale in Phoenix. Arizona Coyotes, Phoenix Coyotes, it doesn't have any excitement. Now that can all change if they get Connor Bedard or Shane Wright, and then maybe attendance will go up because everyone likes a winner. So, but I'd say as of right now, if I had to guess, I say we're calling them the Houston, not Coyotes, because there's no Coyotes in here. Maybe there is, but maybe the Houston Oilers. They'll steal that nickname from the NFL.
So something I hadn't thought about, which someone else mentioned to me, was how problematic it is if they actually move to Quebec, because it unbalances your divisions, right? And then someone has to move.
Yeah, you just realign it again.
Right. But the places that you would move, right. But none of those places are actually.
Or Detroit would have to move back to like the West or something.
Right. And that's an issue.
Pissed about that. Absolutely.
100%, because that's not good for them. They don't it doesn't benefit them at all to have to be in a Western Division team. And that is a problem. I don't think they're going to move after Bettman's gone is probably the easiest idea, but it is going to be hard. Like, I wonder if by then you haven't locked in, like your ownership has to want to move it too. And I don't think they do, because that team was bought solely so that owner could get gambling rights within the state of Arizona.
Or if he just wants to sell it, right? If he's done with it, wants to walk away.
But they've always found buyers. Found buyers for that team. And that's not true for other teams. They couldn't find a buyer in Georgia for Atlanta. They couldn't find buyers for who else was it?
Hartford.
Well, Hartford itself, like, they needed a whole new rink and everything. There was a lot of things there that kind of caused it. But yeah, exactly. So all these teams had to be moved because there was no ownership there for them. But it's just kind of the way it goes.
I will say, if you're an owner in New York and you own the Rangers, I don't know who that is, probably pretty wealthy, you're making a ton of money and you got a revenue share with the Coyotes with the 5,000 seat arena. Like, I wouldn't be pleased about that. You're the Maple Leafs owner, the Canadiens, Flames, Oilers. Like, we're going to be sharing revenue with them and propping them up. Like, that can only go on so long until the owners are
going on for like over 20 years.
But it's even worse now that they're only got 5,000 seat arena.
Well, it'll be much worse.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm shocked it's going to be that long. Like Sanjay said, if it was a year, I'd be like, okay, fine. But 3 to 5 years, every time you tune into an Arizona Coyotes game, you're only going to see 5,000 fans in the stands if you're lucky if they sell out. It's going to be kind of embarrassing. And like, you're trying to establish NHL as one, like the legit top 4 brands in the States. You have these new deals with ESPN and TNT, and fans are going to tune into that, and you're not going to look like a major league team when you're in an arena like that. So,
well, not with that attitude.
I'm surprised they don't consider going elsewhere just for those 3 to 5 years until a new arena is built. Like maybe they go to Quebec or something like that for 3 to 5 years, just to establish it out of there.
Come to glorious Quebec City and see the Phoenix Coyotes, the Arizona Coyotes play.
5 years.
Come to Saskatoon
again.
Hey, we were already considering hosting Winnipeg. We can host Phoenix. And you know what? Lots of us travel to Arizona for vacation. So we'll take them on as our home team.
This is a weird a little bit off topic comment, but who the richest owner or the richest owner whose team, like what team has the richest owner in the NHL? There, I said it finally.
I do not.
Which team has the richest owner in the NHL?
Is it Seattle?
Nope.
Is it New York?
No.
Buffalo.
Small market. Nope.
Really?
It's
Winnipeg?
actually the owner of Winnipeg Jets.
Mm.
He is like billions on billions.
Wow.
And I mean, there's lots of places you could probably, if you had lots of money, promote a hockey team. And Winnipeg is the place where they've chose to do it. So I do think there's availability in that market. They just haven't done it properly. And like the best team they've ever had was literally the team they inherited, the Jets team they got and propped it up. Like they had some wicked players on that team back in the day, and they just kind of wasted it away.
Habby Boolin, or is that a little later?
Oh, they had Habby Boolin. They had
Ronick.
They had Kachuk.
Doan, or was that
Doan.
later too?
No, they had Doan, because Doan was a draft pick of
The
Winnipeg?
Jets.
the Jets, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Habby Boolin was a Winnipeg Jet.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
like they had that one playoff series against the Ducks, and it was like kind of like that budding rivalry, you know, like the two southern markets. And it went 7 games, and then I think like they just won a playoff series in like 2010, I think, with Mike Smith or something. Like
Yeah, he had a hell of a series there. They got to the Western Final. I think.
Like I think they've only won a playoff series in 2 years since they've been there. I'd like to say maybe more, maybe less, but it's around that like 2 to 3 years that they've won a playoff series. So
Tough go. And then they had all this stuff last year with Chikrin and it was Chikrin, wasn't it? Not Chikrin. Who's the GM?
It was.
oh yeah,
it was-
that,
it
like they
sounds
lost their
like
first round
chicken.
draft pick.
Yeah, because he was being sketchy. He was sketch
Yeah.
mode.
He was.
And that just feels like the organization. Like it's just
Mhm.
always had something sketchy, something bad going on since
He
day
was
one.
interviewing for a job with. I believe it was like
Devils.
New Jersey Devils. Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Well, then they were
let's-
fined for, what was it? They were
testing players.
COVID.
that they
right.
weren't
That's
supposed
right.
to.
Yeah. And then
That
they
was
didn't pay their taxes on their arena, and
That's what I mean. Like it's
one,
just
one
it's
thing
just-
after another. Yeah, just
Lots
black
there.
eye on the league for sure.
They've never just had a stable, strong ownership that can just run with it and be like, this is what we're going to do from day one, and then pick good people. Because even when they did have that, they just picked bad people, or they don't care. You know, like, I mean, I like Wayne Gretzky, but he was not a great coach.
No.
And they had Brad Hall
no,
back for
some-
like 5 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys know what their attendance numbers were? Probably not, but in the playoffs, like I think
In the
I
playoffs,
seem to
no.
remember it like pretty bumping that arena.
No, I
It would be
just heard on
cheaper
a
for you to
podcast
fly.
they've been averaging 11,000 per game right now. That's regular season. I have no idea what playoffs
But like
there.
that, yeah.
Don't you think it'd be like easier to fly to Phoenix, go to like a couple games and fly back? Like you could do that cheaper than getting seats at a Canadian hockey game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Well,
not Calgary. Ours are super cheap right now, but most
Playoffs,
other places, yeah.
Are they cheap during playoffs though?
No, but we've never had playoffs during COVID, so I don't know.
Yeah, they'll be twice as expensive now. Let's talk about some of the other big news that came up, and which was and it was kind of let out of the bag a long time ago by former NHL ref Tim Peel that Evander Kane was signing in Edmonton. And after his was announced, there was like, no, we're going to do an investigation into whether he broke the rules crossing into Canada with COVID or not. And during that time, lots of information leaked out, specifically in Edmonton. They had his equipment already ordered. They knew he was going to wear the number 91. Like all this stuff was talked about days before it was announced that he was signed. But he finally signed. He had an interview, and I haven't watched it, where he went on TSN and he got questioned about it. But I've talked to a couple of people about it, and I don't know, like no one really feels like
he took ownership.
Yeah, like he took ownership, or like
Yeah.
he gave such good answers. You're like, you know what, I really understand where he's coming from. It seems like most of the people that have watched it have really got the character, like, oh, it's the same kind of Evander Kane.
Like he was
stuff.
in denial of like, I'm a good guy. I'm not a locker room cancer. It's not true.
He did admit to like a gambling problem, that he has a gambling problem, and he sees a therapist about that. And he did mention like they brought up the domestic disputes as well, and he's like, that like blew up. He's like, but like he also mentioned, he's like, but like nothing is said about like how like I had filed a domestic violence against her before all of this happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was like sketchy and weird, and like really like still leaves me muffled a lot, because like questions weren't answered. There was no ownership over a lot of stuff. It was like, deflecting, but like weird. But like he's got sole custody of his daughter,
right?
And
and like some of those things haven't. I was gonna say some of those things haven't been proven, right? So we can't say he did do them. But I mean, other stuff like his teammates not wanting him around anymore. I mean, that's true. Like it's San Jose Sharks did not want him there anymore. Before that, it was Winnipeg. They didn't want him there anymore. And he didn't really have anything to say about
Buffalo too.
Right. And so he didn't really have anything to say about his, having to work on his character or being a better teammate or anything like that. He didn't really take ownership of any of that.
So it was interesting because when they did their announcement, it was Ken Holland, Dave Tippett, and Evander Kane talking. And this is the one that gets pointed out the most. It was pointed out on radio, which was Ryan Rishaug asked him what lessons he's learned. And he said, I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. And Rishaug's like, that left me like, we're like, well, you should make time. Like now's the time to actually, like we're sitting here listening to, you should show that you've had some growth. And I don't know if you guys watched Hockey Night in Canada yesterday, but Jennifer Botterill basically latched onto that same point, being like, this was an opportunity that was completely missed. And that's part of the problem, is that these opportunities keep getting missed by him. And I don't know if she said that for sure, but it's definitely an issue that he doesn't like take that thing and actually answer that question. And then there was kind of some other stuff, like even I think BX pointed out, he's like, he's the only guy who's not wearing a helmet. Like it's a team thing. Yeah. And he's still promoting that he's an individual. And I don't know, like it's interesting there, but
sorry, Baird, what was that part about the helmet?
So when everyone skates out on the ice, everyone on the Edmonton Oilers for their practice lap, their warm up, everyone's wearing their helmet.
Oh, okay. And he didn't.
Oh, yeah. So like the whole team's there doing it. And I think it's been a team mandate since Taylor Hall got his face stepped on with a skate. I'm serious. Like, cause Hall never used to either. Mm. And then something about your defenseman jumping on your face that just makes you want to wear your visor, I guess. But it was still that promoting of that idea. And so it's hard to say, like, do you think that those things are just things that people are grabbing onto, being like, look at these things, here's another example? Or do you think that they're actual issues? Like, is this a guy that is going to be a problem with character wise down the road still? Where do you stand on it?
It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's happened before in the past and it feels like it's only a matter of time before it happens again. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen with the Edmonton Oilers. Mm-hmm. They signed him for 1 year, so he's got 40 games left and then playoffs. And there's no guarantees he'll be back. I look at the NFL and a player like Antonio Brown, very similar situation where he burned a lot of bridges in Vegas, in Pittsburgh, and he went to Tampa Bay, played 1 year, helped them win a championship. And then the second year is when things went off the rails. So, I mean, it did work for them in the short term. They have a Super Bowl banner because of him. He was a big part of that. And I think Edmonton is kind of just banking on, let's hope that he can help us, because he is a strong forward, a good power forward when he wants to be. And on the ice, he is very effective. So I think Edmonton is just banking on that fact that, he will, combust. But we're hoping that it'll be next year when he's not with us. And that's my take on it.
Yeah. Well, and he's playing for a contract too, right? So I think he's going to be on his best behavior over this half of the season, at least just to get that next contract and the big money, right? I like I said on a previous episode, I remember when he first went to San Jose, they were praising him at the start about his character. And then things obviously went south. I think, it takes some time to kind of revert back to just who you are as opposed to being on your best behavior all the time. So I agree, Sanjay. I have a feeling he'll be on his best behavior throughout this season, and then we'll see what happens next.
Adam?
Yeah, they gave the guy a shot. He's had multiple opportunities to come out and say, like, you know what, I've learned this lesson. Even if it's not saying, I'm wrong. You don't have to say I'm wrong, but you do have an opportunity to say, this is what I've learned and this is where I want to go. And it's very much, it's like the guy's in denial about everything he's done. And there's no ownership as to like what's gone on. It's just like, I've been portrayed poorly in the media. Poor me, which kind of sucks because you want this guy, you want to see like the reclamation project work. But like maybe it's too early. maybe the bandage has been ripped off and he's still feeling that sting. But like at some point, you've got to show some growth. And right now we're not seeing it. We're seeing someone stuck in the mud.
Some guys just never feel they're in the wrong. Right. I mean, you look at Mike Babcock and how many times he's been asked about his past coaching tactics, and he's always just said that he's a good character. And I think Evander Kane, like, I think he looks at himself and thinks he's a great guy and doesn't understand why his teammates don't like him.
And it was like a gradual thing, like you said. Like, it went from this guy's a great guy to like, if he's back next year, then you can trade me.
Yeah,
like that. And so that did happen. But like Mike Rupp, I'm gonna like touch on points that Sanjay and Ryan both made, which I think are interesting. Which Mike Rupp kind of made the comment, or so Ryan made the comment here where he said he's playing for a contract, and Mike Rupp, former NHLer, made the comment, I wouldn't give him more than a 1-year contract each year. Yeah, like, I would not ever put him in a place to be super comfortable. I'd offer him money. I'd even pay him maybe more, but it's like, you got 1 year, see ya. And that's that part of it, because like, you know, the old saying is, fool me once, shame on me, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. And the Oilers are seeing everyone else having been fooled, and they're going, hey, not us. Yeah. And that's there. But Sanjay made the comparison to Antonio Brown and the fact that they actually won a Super Bowl, and Evander Kane can help this team. So this came up through a conversation on Low Tide's show, which is in TSN 1260 in Edmonton. And he made the point that, why do you sign this guy other than to say that you're all in on this team? Like, you make this play, you're going to get him cheap, you're all in on this team. So you fix that, you have him there. It moves Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to your third line center. You maybe get Holloway up here. So how do you make this team better and fix the issues, which are probably defense and goaltending? You're going to have to move somebody. And who has value on your team other than Jesse Puljujarvi? And he said, legitimately, he thinks the signing of this, Kane will have a good season and will probably end up working himself into a contract on the Oilers, and Jesse Puljujarvi will be gone, or Jesse Puljujarvi will be gone this season, because eventually they're locked into a point where they won't be able to afford to keep him. What do you think
for
about
sure?
That?
Yeah. You know, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot, because you see Jesse and the impact he has on fans on Twitter. You see the impact he has on the dressing room since he's come back, on the media. Like, he is a happy guy. He's got the smile on his face. He's the Bison King. People love him. He seems to have adjusted his game to the North American style as well, and he's been effective. And yeah, it's like swapping emojis, right? For like an angry face emoji for like a happy laugh, right? And like, I would much rather have this emoji than like this smart ass emoji. I don't know. But the thing is too, Baron, you make a really good point. Yes, Puljujarvi is going to get paid. He's been effective. He's been really good. And like, that size alone and his forecheck and what he creates in that offensive zone when the opposition has the puck, he creates turnovers. He's good. And to me, I'd be disappointed.
Wouldn't trading away? Sorry, Adam. Did you have anything more to say?
No. Apparently, you thought I was done.
I thought you were done. Wouldn't trading?
It's all good, because I could go on and on. Honestly,
do it, man. I'm just curious. Like, wouldn't trading Puljujarvi kind of be a step back to what you just did with bringing in Evander Kane? Like, the whole point of bringing in Evander Kane was to help increase the offensive depth, and then all of a sudden you're going to get rid of one of your best right wingers. Now your depth is back to square one. I don't quite understand that.
See, like they suffer more at left wing than they do at right wing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the thing is that
sort it out.
You have to give something up to get. So what has value is the argument. It's not like, is that going to make your team better? Yeah. Was getting Duncan Keith at $5 million making the team better?
Right. The thing that didn't, like, Holland said, I'm not trading the first round pick. I'm not trading one of my top prospects. He said that, right? So,
right,
like, that's
not
confusing.
A prospect anymore.
No.
Oh, sorry.
But what I'm thinking is, in my mind, it's like, hey, you bring in Evander Kane, great. Now we have depth. Now we can put Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the third line, Zach Hyman on the third line. That third line looked amazing last game. Now you have some offensive depth. You have scoring on three lines now. You haven't had that all season.
Last night.
Okay, there you go. So that's great. Now you've improved the forward depth. But I mean, the biggest issue is goaltending. To me, you trade away one of the goalies' contracts and bring in someone else. But you would think the thing you would trade away would be your first round pick or a top prospect, someone who's not already on the team. Like if your whole focus is you're in on this team, why would you subtract from this team? Why would you subtract a big player from this team in Jesse Puljujarvi? Why wouldn't you instead get rid of someone who's going to help this team in the future and not now in terms of a pick and prospect? And that's where I just don't quite see where Holland's going to go next year.
So like go ahead, Adam, go. No.
Well, and which leads me to think, like, if you're thinking right winger, who ends up on their ass most of the time? And it's not to say that he's a bad player, but Kyler Yamamoto, like that's another guy I could see. I would be like, I would send him as opposed to Puljujarvi, but
which is fair. But who, if you're another GM, which player are you trying to get? Jesse Puljujarvi or Kyler Yamamoto?
I'm trying to get Puljujarvi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the interesting points you make, Ryan, like everyone always says, move the goalie. Koskinen, if he was movable, he would have been moved probably twice already. And he hasn't, because he's just, nobody's wants to take that contract on at $4.5 million. But what they did make a point of on TSN radio, and I don't remember who did it, was it doesn't matter who you bring in, because his contract will wash off with, if it's a switch, like you already have the space there essentially for it. Right. So that is kind of interesting, I think, with that part there. But he
just has this year, right? It's the last year of his contract.
Last year.
So I mean, you take a look. Let's say like Chicago, right? Chicago. I mean, everyone's talking about Marc-Andre Fleury. Well, who cares? They won't care if they bring Mikko Koskinen, because this year's over for them anyways. They're going to want picks and prospects. They're going to want something to look forward to in the future to build upon. So that's like, if I was to make a trade, it would be to Chicago. You have to take Koskinen so we can get Marc-Andre Fleury, and then you can take our whatever first overall pick and X prospect. Like that's the kind of move I would move next. But Holland said he's not going to do that, and I don't understand why you're going to trade Puljujarvi, but you're not going to trade a first round pick or prospect.
I think moving the prospect or the pick makes sense at this point too. Even if they're preparing for time with McDavid and Draisaitl are gone, I still think like you have to sacrifice something at some point. Like they've padded some pretty shitty Penguins teams by using those picks and over the years, and now it's the cupboard's bare, but for a while there it was pretty good. One of the interesting things though is that apparently Tyler Yaremchuk, once again TSN radio guy, says Fleury, he doesn't have a lot of interest in coming to Edmonton.
Right. Like he has a no movement clause, or a partial no movement clause.
I'm not sure how it works exactly, because he got moved to Chicago and he apparently wasn't happy about that. Right. But yeah, I think he's got something, and that's not necessarily a landing spot for him. At least that's what the after show said yesterday. So it's kind of interesting. Now we're talking about trying to get something your team needs. So I want you guys to think quickly a bit about your team as to, like, at this, we're getting closer to trade deadline, like trade deadline's coming up. What is something your team needs, and who would you target or try to get for that piece? So I think we know kind of a little bit about, like, we've already just talked about what Edmonton kind of needs, but we'll go back to it in a second. But Ryan, I feel like you're probably more prepared for this question. So what do the Leafs need, and who would you target to fulfill that need? You don't have to tell me what you're going to give up. You're just going to tell me what you would like.
I would like
Jack Eichel.
A second pairing right shot defenseman to replace Justin Hall, even though his game started to turn around. An upgrade in that position would be great. I don't know, man. Ideally, like Josh Manson would be amazing.
He's injured now too. Hey.
Oh, is he? I didn't even.
He got injured last game.
Yeah. Oh, really? Well, if he wasn't injured, or if the injury's not too bad, like that's the kind of guy I would like a big, nasty right shot defenseman that can play on that shutdown line with Jake Muzzin, but also someone who can move the puck a bit, because Muzzin seems to be kind of struggling with that a little.
And my sister's best friend is his cousin.
Who's?
Josh Manson. There we go.
Oh, well, tell him to go to Toronto, man.
My sister's friend, twice removed, once saw this guy bag groceries. Amazing.
There's a former
randomest
roommate
thing.
of my sister's friends, cousins.
So what about Klingberg? He's right shooting defenseman.
My sister's
He's a puck.
friend.
He's a
Twice
puck mover.
removed on my
Yeah,
mother's
he's a
team.
puck mover. So in that sense, maybe. I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. It's one of those things where, okay, like that line with Muzzins usually uses the shutdown line, and Klingberg is an offensive defenseman. But on the same sense, maybe it would work because you would have, but like at least maybe you would have like a chemistry there, like an offensive puck moving guy with a defensive Jake Muzzin. Maybe it would work. He's probably not my top pick though. Like I would prefer someone big, over 200 pounds, nasty, that can clear the net.
Slow, Logan Stanley,
This guy.
Ben Sherratt, but he's left-handed. So like, I don't like, I was looking through some of the names, and there's really like Colin Miller was a name that was thrown out there. He wouldn't be too bad. Maybe
they apparently kicked the tires on Chikrin. That was on TSN Insider.
But Chikrin's also left-handed, but I mean, he's a great player. So I mean, maybe you have 4 left shot defensemen in your top 4 to who cares as long as they're the best players. I don't know. There's a couple guys, Calvin DeHaan, I think, was brought up from Chicago. And I really like Connor Murphy, but like his contract is more than just this year. So like Calvin DeHaan would probably be easier to get.
What did Connor Murphy? So one of the stories that came once again off TSN was that last year they gave up all these pieces for things without contract, and they were actually aiming for things with contract this year.
Who, the Leafs?
Yes.
Really?
They want guys
they were
with
not
contracts.
going to go for contract.
That's not what.
Because usually in the
LeBron
past,
said.
Dubas has always gone for players with contract. Usually, I mean, yeah, they
Well,
got
not
Nick
last
Foligno.
year though.
No, not last year. It's surprising if I hadn't heard that. It's surprising they're going to go for term. I guess it has to be good term, but they're going to be really tight with that cap next year. Riley's contract up, his new contract starts next season, so he'll be paid more. And then Jack Campbell is going to want some cashola.
Well, Jack Campbell's earned some cashola.
Oh yes. So I think they're going to be very, very tight. So unless it's a very good contract, they're going to have to move out some players. So if it's the right piece, like I said, like Connor Murphy, he's a big right shot defenseman, good defensively. He would be a great pick. I think he's like $4 million, maybe a little more than $4 million. So it's a little pricey. So I'm not sure.
Okay, Sanjay, what about you?
Calgary Flames, their big thing is depth scoring. I don't know how many games I've watched this year where they're out shooting their opponents like 20-5, 30-12, and the score is like 1-1. And I'm like, any other team in the league with this shot advantage would have like a 3 or 4 goal lead. And for whatever reason, outside of their St. Louis and Columbus explosions, but outside of those 2 games, like it seems like depth scoring, it's the top line. If it's not Gaudreau, Tkachuk, and Lindholm scoring, no one's scoring. And the player that I would love, I don't know if this is a possibility at all, would be Claude Giroux out of Philadelphia. I think he would fit perfectly on that second line with Mangiapane. You could move Monahan up, who's been playing a lot better of late, into that second line. And then you could have a shutdown line with Dubé, Backlund, and Coleman, which would be a terrific third line. And, Giroux would help on the second line power play. And it just makes sense. And you look at the Flames, that's their main thing is depth scoring. Other than that, I don't really see too many needs.
What about bringing back Giordano?
Yeah,
if I had to choose, I think their defense is playing well enough that I would say I would prioritize offense at this point. They're playing a great team defense game, and Markstrom has been terrific this year. 7 shutouts already. What? So I would definitely prioritize offense because they're playing a terrific team defense game, like the Sutter system, and they just can't put the puck in the net. Like that game against Vancouver yesterday, was a snooze fest, but at one point the shots were like 15-1 and the score was 0-0. So, it just shows that their offensive talent, like their third and fourth lines,
all Swedish, no finish.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's fair. I was actually surprised you didn't go Geo either, because you've been really pushing that train down our throats for
if
the
he
last
came
couple
back,
months, and we were all sick of it. But I mean, it's fair.
he still has his house here, I heard, so he still keeps in touch with Sutter.
He will 100% be a community member when he's done. Why wouldn't he be?
I think he's gonna, if he doesn't get traded, he'll like re-sign in the offseason here for like a 1-year cheap deal and then finish his career. I mean, I haven't been following the Kraken, but from what I've seen, I think he's doing all right. Like he's not like washed up by any means, in my opinion. So
no, that's fair. All right, Adam, your choice. Bad timing, Adam, with the water bottle. We literally just had Sanjay talk the whole time. Could have had water at any of those points. Okay. Let's hear it.
The Edmonton Oilers need a goaltender. It's no surprise. And the thing is, where do you go and who do you target? And that's where I really struggle, because you see Marc-Andre Fleury's name pop up constantly about trades. And now from what you've said, it's like he's unwilling to go. So who do you target? Well, first off, you target Markstrom or Campbell. You take them.
Yeah, okay.
You get, there is Big Save Dave. He is available in Nashville if you want. You
can take Peter Mrazek.
Yeah. And you know
man,
what?
Was he bad?
He is like, I did want Mrazek at the start of the season. He was a free agent. I thought he'd be good. And then all of a sudden the injury train came, which seems to be a Toronto Maple Leafs thing, because your goaltenders are always injured. But who's out there? It's a really kind of like sparse selection of goalies right now. You see these names like Korpisalo, and like all you hear is struggling goaltending names right now. And it's hard to even pinpoint who's going to get rid of a goaltender at this point in time. And I'm really struggling to figure out who would the Chicago, or not Chicago, but the Philadelphia Flyers gave their list of like untouchables, right? And Carter Hart wasn't mentioned, and he's got major potential. So that's one guy I think of immediately, because like Huboden's not like playing in the NHL right now, right? Was he not sent down?
He is waived, but I don't know if he was ever sent down.
Right. So is he just taxi squad? That was another name that was popped around, like that I heard a lot of. It's really difficult, especially when you and frustrating when you see and you're playing against guys like Demko, Markstrom, Campbell. But I also do think that something happened in that locker room. And I think maybe, and here's where I think Koskinen was felt, and this is just like a psychological look here into the team, but I think Koskinen felt like he was on a lonely island. Honestly, coach was saying, it was a brutal give out, and Tippett doesn't throw his players under the bus, and he threw Koskinen under, and then there was that little feud, and then with Jim Matheson asking Draisaitl to throw him under the bus, and Draisaitl being like, no, we need to improve everywhere. I think that kind of made Koskinen feel a little bit more like he was a part of the family and not just like the drunk uncle in the corner. So ever since that comment, he hasn't lost, and his save percentage has been .933. He's been playing out of his mind. He's been making unreal stops. He looks engaged. He looks over engaged. And it's interesting to see, which I think is good, because then it bumps up his
trade value.
Bumps up his go ahead. What's that? Sorry. I think I have a migraine, so I'm having a really difficult time talking, but yeah, it pumps up his market value.
For a guy with a tough time talking, you sure do talk a lot.
Oh. You tell him, Ryan. You tell him.
I have a totally off-topic question, and didn't even think of this, but you're rattling off the goalies that are available, and I don't know if it's just me, but I think the goaltenders that you can trust have really gone down in the amount of years. Back in the day, you'd be okay, we need a goalie. We can find a backup. We can find someone like a Tom Barrasso or Chris Osgood or a Mike Vernon or Kelly Rudy that we can pick up. And then now you're like listing those names, and it's just like, yeah, it just doesn't seem like the same quality. Like, I just don't know if goaltending, there's just not as many quality goalies as there were in the past, or if like the shelf life is shorter. But like, I remember in like the past, like Ottawa Senators, like we needed a goalie and they got Tom Barrasso, and like it didn't work out for them, but like that's a 2-time winning Stanley Cup goalie that they were able to get. And now
they got one of those now, and it's not working out for them.
I guess. They got Dominic Hasek.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right, though. It feels like a lot of guys don't really maybe last as long as they used to. Felt like
What
the
about,
names were big for a while.
Just look at like teams that are out of it that, I don't know, maybe their goalies would be available. What about like a James Reimer? Like, he's had a good couple solid seasons. He's with San Jose. They're out of the playoff race. His cap hit's decent,
but
they're still kicking around.
I mean, they're kicking around, I suppose. But I'm just like, I'm looking who are like actually out of the playoffs as of right now.
I think you're right, though. I think James Reimer's an upgrade. Like, he legitimately is. The thing that's interesting, though, is I don't know if Mike Smith's playing after this year, the way he's played and the amount he's been injured. Like at some point, something's telling you, hey, this isn't going to work. And maybe he rebounds and he plays more next year. But man, I don't.
And he's signed for 2 years.
He's got
Yes,
he is signed for 2 years, which means you're going to have that cap hit because of his age, no matter what.
Right, even if he retires, right?
Why would they sign him for 2 years? That seems
to get him at a lower price to pay him for that. Yeah. There's a lot of bad decisions.
It was a risk.
It's not like there was a bidding war for him, as far as I know. Maybe there was.
The bidding war was that they couldn't get anybody else, and that they were like, "Hey, Mike."
Sorry, we misplaced your number. We've been trying to call you all summer, but I don't know.
Your agent's such a jerk. He always, we know, baby, we here for you. Yeah. So
Markstrom, no, we wanted you all along.
Okay, so somebody else made this point too, which is they wouldn't give Markstrom the extra year, but they ended up giving the same amount of term to Nuge and Hyman. They would all wipe out around the same time anyway. So if you're going to go in on 2, what's the difference if you'd went in on 3? You would have had the flipping goaltender you wanted.
Yeah.
But you still would have been stuck to some degree with Mikko Koskinen at 4.5. Milosh.
Yeah,
is that what he is? He's 4.5?
He's 4.5.
Oh, I thought he was 3.5. Wow.
Nope. 3.5, you'd probably just take the $1 million bullet mover. There's a lot of talk that he's really popular within the room too. That guys like him, and that's another reason why he's still there. But
do you think it's like a Edmonton thing? Like, we look at Cam Talbot, and he had an amazing year. They made it to the second round of the playoffs, and then the next year with Edmonton, everyone was saying this guy's washed up. He can't do anything. He's done. Has like a waste of a year, and then he goes to Calgary, plays better, and then he goes to Minnesota and plays even better.
Well, I think they just ran him into the ground in Edmonton. He was played so much that year. He owns the record for wins for the Edmonton Oilers, the most wins by a goaltender in a season. He holds that record. And he beat Fuhr. And then what happened after was the next year when the team was slower, not as good, like they had Sekera injured, they took a step back. He got relied on to bail them out to play a ton, and it didn't go well. And it just kept being something like that. And it's too bad, because that's probably the last good trade they made, was to get Cam Talbot. And at the end of the day, they let him go. And he's a number 1 goalie in this league. He's a number 1 goalie. He's an all-star. He's a good player. Still can't believe he's going to the All-Star face. Well, Mike Smith beating him up. That's fine. I mean, whatever. You okay there, Tim? What do you okay, you go down.
Oh yeah, you got the picture back there. I was at that game. Worst game I've ever been to.
That would have been the best game to go to.
There's that game that we went to where like the Oilers ended up winning like 6-3 or whatever.
I should stop going to Flames and Oilers games. Doesn't go well for me.
It goes well for us. We like it.
You guys were gonna pay me to go to the next Battle of Alberta. Like, we bought you tickets, Sanjay.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Quit trying to get free stuff from us all the time. Adam still hasn't paid up his bet to you by wearing.
I know. I was just thinking about that.
every episode. Oh yeah. All right, like, click, subscribe. We're already basically at the end of this episode, but let's spin this out a little bit. So I'll give each of you 2 trophies. to tell me who do you think deserves it for each, and you can tell me who you think at this halfway point of the season the trophy belongs to. Sanjay, you get the Hart. Pilon, you get the Calder. Adam, you get the Vezina. Adam, you also get the Norris. The Selke goes to Ryan, and the Jack Adams to Sanjay. So Sanjay, Hart, Jack Adams, Calder, Selke to Ryan, and Vezina, Norris to Adam. Sorry. So who wants to go first?
Why don't I go first? I'm going to say the Vezina's going to, this is tough because there's two goaltenders that really deserve it, I think. And I think there's one that hasn't won it that's deserved it the last 3 years that should get it. And that's Andre Vasilevsky. I also think that Markstrom is very deserving right now. Half the season over, 7 shutouts. He's been remarkable. So if it wasn't for Vasilevsky winning 2 cups and, deserving to win in those seasons, I'm going with Vasilevsky this season.
Sweet. Next, anybody?
I'll go with the. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Pilon.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're so nice. We're so Canadian, eh? I'm gonna go with the Jack Adams, and I'm gonna go with my man Daryl Sutter. I just think the way that he's turned around the Flames, where last year they were well out of the playoffs
with him.
Well, for half the year. I mean, it was hard to implement during the COVID. There's no practices. So it was really hard to implement a system for half the year to come in and change everything. But if you look at the improvement that the team has done, it's night and day. Not even just the results on the ice, but the way that they are winning. It's a total team effort. They're buying into defense. Johnny Gaudreau has never looked better in his career. Matthew Tkachuk, same thing. So I'm going with my man Daryl Sutter, and he'll be super thrilled to win it too.
Because the Flames.
Adam, let's hear Sutter's
1 year out.
One year in,
1 year out.
Oh, you want Sutter's award speech?
I want to hear Sutter's award speech.
I did my job.
Well, he
that's it.
He accepted the award for Kiprusoff when he won the Vezina because Kipper was in Finland, so he didn't even bother showing up.
All right, my turn.
All right, yeah.
I'll do the easy one first, which is the Selke. And who else can you go to but Patrice Bergeron? Best defensive forward of this generation. Every year, I think this guy is going to eventually start to decline, but he just doesn't. And he's still performing at such a high level. Got to go with Patrice.
All right. Back to Adam.
The Norris Trophy is going to go to Adam Fox again. Right now, mid-season, he's got 47 points. Honorable mention, Cale Wes-Makar with 43 points. Very well could be up there. And another honorable mention, Victor the Iron Man Hedman. That's where we're at with that. But I think Adam Fox has a really good chance to win it again, especially the way he's playing for the Rangers, and his offensive output is that of a top 20 player in the NHL.
Okay. Sanjay,
for the Hart,
maybe we should do the Hart last. Maybe I'll go.
Okay, fine.
I don't know. You're gonna build up my
Ryan.
speech? Okay.
Well, sorry, but the Hart's
the
number one trophy. So might as well have Sanjay go last on that one. Okay, so
shows
the
up
Calder.
last. He might as well go last.
Exactly. So the Calder. So I know everyone's talking Zegras and Raymond, and I'm sure one of them will probably end up winning.
Zegras, agreed. Thank you for paying attention.
Zegras, that's good. You did it.
Log out now. Take care, you guys. Have a good episode.
But there's a Toronto Maple Leaf playing
today.
third line minutes that I think really deserves it.
They focus on points, and obviously those guys are tremendous talents and very, very good players. But I'm going to go with a different player. I'm going to go with Zach Hyman replacement Michael Bunting. And here's why. So he doesn't have as many points as Zegras or Raymond, but he doesn't play as much power play time either. In fact, he plays half the amount of power play as those guys. But when you look at their 5-on-5 points comparison, they're equal. They're exactly the same. So he's right on their par in terms of offense, but he's the better defensive player. He has the better defensive stats. He's first among all rookie players and wins above replacement. Plus, he provides some chippiness to the Leafs, which is something they've sorely lacked throughout the years. And he's fantastic at drawing penalties. He's second in the league right now, behind only Connor McDavid in drawn penalties. So I'm going to give it to Michael Bunting, and the Toronto Maple Leafs will have won the Calder for the second time in 5 years.
So I'm confused. Did he not meet Calder requirements in 2021?
No.
He
See,
played
that's what I was wondering.
21 games. He had 26 games under his belt before he joined the Leafs.
He's still
Ooh.
considered a rookie this year, and he is still
he?
up for the award. Yep.
I'm surprised by that. Okay, doesn't happen, but that's fair. All right, go ahead.
Not a home run.
Go
That
ahead,
was more of a
Sanjay.
bunt.
How do I follow that up? Like, what do I say that I can follow that up? Well, you got to have heart, and Connor McHart date. No, I can't even follow that up.
right.
You know, there's two guys in Edmonton that are deserving of it because they're their whole team. But I'm gonna go in a different direction because they kind of hogged the award for the last couple of years. And there's no guarantee as of right now that they're gonna make the playoffs. So I'm gonna go south to Florida, and Jonathan Huberdeau. You look at that team after Joel Quenneville was let go of the team or left the team. That team could have went south, right? Like that team was in danger of, okay, they had this like controversy. How are they going to respond? And they're still like top 2, top 3 in the league. And Huberdeau is up there in points, and he's making his teammates better. He plays, full 120-foot game, and I think he's deserving. And unfortunately, I don't know if he'll get it because he plays in Florida, and I don't know how many games they're watching of Huberdeau, but I think he is definitely deserving of it.
Yeah. Leon Draisaitl more so, but that's fair. Him as well. All right. With that brings up our episode of Delayed Offside. Like, click, subscribe. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook group. I don't know if anybody uses it, but I do appreciate that you at least pretend to. With that, I'm Baron.
I'm Adam.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sanjay.
Take care. Enjoy the listen, and have a safe night.